Welcome students to our second session on learning techniques to improve reading skills. Before we move on to the second session, shall we recollect the points that we have dealt in the first session? Efficient reading consists of reading with understanding. The aim of reading a passage is to identify the general idea and its supporting points. The two types of reading are extensive reading and intensive reading. And next point is, before one starts reading, one should have a positive mindset. Students, this ability to understand the written language is very important in your student career. It helps you to gather information apart from your regular textbooks. The aim of these sessions is to equip you with the skills that would help you even in the absence of the teacher, and also help you while you are referring additional books. There are certain techniques for efficient reading. The first technique is just listen. While reading, move your eyes to longer bits of language and try to understand simultaneously. Look at the longer bits of language and understand the information simultaneously. A slow reader reads only words but not the idea. Hence, optimum speed is necessary. Look at the following example. The example will come up on the screen. The given lines can be broken up as shown on the screen. Just look at the passage. As I was studying Christianity, Hinduism, and other great faiths of the world, I saw that there was a fundamental unity moving amidst the endless variety that we see in all religions, namely truth and innocence. Students, if you go on with the breaks as that is given on the screen, you will have a clear understanding of the text rather than as a slow reader. Just look at it. As I was studying. If you go like this, you will be paying attention on the words rather than the meaning of it. So, optimum speed is needed for efficient reading. It's now time for learning different styles of reading. We'll see now two styles of reading, scanning and skimming. Scanning will be applicable to reading texts of various subjects. And when it comes to English, scanning aims at not only understanding the text but also mastering the structure and vocabulary. Scanning is detailed study of the text. In skimming, you read something for general ideas and outline points. It might be a textbook or some reference book for additional information, or you might not have time to read the whole text or the essay or something else. This is called skimming, and skimming is reading for general ideas. We shall see now some of the points that have to be kept in mind while scanning a passage. While scanning a passage, we should look for factual information or the information that has been given directly or the information that has been given indirectly or implied. Now students, a sample passage is given to you. The passage will roll on the screen. It is from your lab manual. You will be given a few minutes time to read and understand. To evaluate your ability of scanning or the understanding the passage, a few questions are asked on a task sheet. Answer the questions within the time limit. Having read the passage, now answer the questions that are provided in the task sheet. Dear students, aim at the aspects mentioned above while scanning the passage, and now check your answers with the key provided. The first question: what cooks food? The answer is the high pressure in the vessel cooks food. 2. What happens when the pressure builds up in the vessel beyond the normal level? The answer: the weight of valve sends out the excess pressure. 3. Pressure builds up as soon as the vessel is heated. The answer is false. 4. Food cannot be cooked under normal atmospheric pressure. The answer is false. 5a. When water is heated, the vessel gets filled with steam. 5b. What are the connecting words used in the passage that shows the continuity in the procedure? Answer: when, then, and if. Dear students, I hope you have enjoyed the test, understanding the passage and answering the task sheet. You might have understood your merits and demerits in understanding the text. Try to improve your skills. Now, taking the first passage as a sample. Now go for the second one that is going to be run on the screen. Having read the passage, now answer the questions that are provided in the task sheet from question number 6. Students, just as it is given in the first sample, key is provided here. Check your answers with the key. The word stew means spread. Science is always a gift. The answer is false. 8. Motor driven vehicle is harmful to some. True. 9. There are over 2 lakh casualties in 1 year in the world. False. The wireless makes the world smaller. True. 11. The cinema gives instructions and orders. False. 12. The frequently used conjunctions are and but. The conjunction that presents two or more contrasting ideas are but. The conjunction that presents two or more similar ideas is and. 15. What is the motive of the writer in the passage? The motive of the writer is to say science can be used and misused. Dear students, till now we have seen how a particular passage can be scanned for factual information, implied information, for vocabulary and for structure. And now we will see how a passage can be skimmed for general ideas. The passage that is going to be given to you now is not from your textbook, but it will be helpful to you to widen your knowledge. Before we go to the test passage, I would like to stress a point that skimming aims at identifying the general idea. You might be skimming a reference book in the library. Usually, these reference books are borrowed from the library for a short period. Since you don't own them, it is better to take down the accessory number of the book. Skimming helps to identify the main idea. The information can be read faster. Note the accessory number of the reference book and make notes. We shall now go for another sample for skimming. Read the text and find out the ideas, and later answer the task sheet. Now read the questions. You can skim the passages of your text. You can study the first line of each passage or paragraph so that you can understand the idea given in that paragraph. Hence, reading the first line of each paragraph in any essay will be helpful to you. In a short time, you can skim all the points of a particular essay or any lesson. Dear students, now scan and skim different passages for different purposes. While you are scanning, try to identify the factual information and implied information. Scanning a particular passage in English aims at not only understanding the meaning of the text, but also understanding the vocabulary part and structure of it. Before we conclude, we shall look at the points that have been discussed from the beginning. The points are: read longer bits of language for better understanding. The different styles of reading are scanning and skimming. Scanning aims at reading shorter text with greater detail, and skimming is for reading general ideas of a passage. Now, dear students, it's time for you now to attack the text with the skills that you have acquired in this session. We shall meet you again in the next session with much more skills in reading, and so that you can understand any passage in good manner. Thank you.
Now let us discuss an important topic, the degrees of comparison. You are aware that there are 3 degrees of comparison. They are the positive, the comparative, and the superlative. That is, the adjectives are compared at 3 different degrees. Let us observe the adjectives, how they are compared in positive, in comparative, and in superlative. Tall, taller, tallest, big, bigger, and biggest. Useful, more useful, and most useful. Intelligent, more intelligent, and most intelligent. Now let us discuss the positive degree. The positive degree is a basic form of an adjective. It is used to show the mere existence of some quality. When a comparison is made, we use as, or so as. Now let us see the example. Assam tea is as good as Nilgiri tea. Second one, China tea is not so tasty as Indian tea. You can observe as and as in the first sentence, and also so and as in the second sentence. Now let us see the comparative degree. The comparative degree shows a higher degree of the quality than the positive. It is used when 2 things or persons compared. See the example, Indian tea tastes better than China tea. So you can see the adjective better followed by than. This is how we convert the adjective in comparative degree. Now let us know about the superlative degree. It is used to make or compare the highest degree of its quality. So in the example, Indian tea is the best of all kinds of tea, we can observe the definite article followed by the superlative of good, best. This is how we make the superlative degree to the basic form good. Now we shall see how the degrees are formed. The rules are: 1-syllable adjectives form their comparative and superlative by adding er and est to the positive form. Example, bright, brighter, brightest. Adjectives of 3 or more syllables form their comparative and superlative by putting more and most before the positive. Example, interested, more interested, most interested. Frightening, more frightening, and most frightening. Adjectives of 2 syllables follow one or other of the above rules. Example, doubtful, more doubtful, most doubtful. Obscure, more obscure, and most obscure. Now let us also see some irregular comparisons which trouble us sometimes. Examples, good, better, best, bad, worse, worst, far, farther, farthest, for, former, foremost, fourth, further, furthest, late, later, latest, little, less, least, much, more, most, near, nearer, nearest, old, older, oldest, out, outer, outermost. Now we shall see the interchanging of the degrees of comparison. For example, we have the superlative, the sun is the biggest planet. Let us observe the changes that take place in the comparative. That is, the sun is bigger than any other planet. Next, the positive, no other planet is so big as the sun. Similarly, another example, the superlative is the rose is the most beautiful flower. Whereas in the comparative, the rose is more beautiful than any other flower. In the positive, no other flower is so beautiful as the rose. Students, you have observed the changes made in the sentences. That is, the comparative form is followed by any other, and the positive form is followed or preceded by no other. Now it is clear that the things we are speaking about are unique or only one of their kind in their group. Hence we are using than any other in the comparative and no other in the positive without changing the meaning of the sentence. Now let us see the changes that are made in the following sentences. Superlative, Ashoka was one of the greatest Indian emperors. In the comparative, Ashoka was greater than most other Indian emperors. In the positive, very few Indian emperors were as great as Ashoka. You can find the difference in changing the degrees of comparison from the previous one. That is, you can observe from the first, second, and third sentences. Similarly, another example, the superlative, India is one of the hottest countries in the world. Comparative, India is hotter than most other countries in the world. In the positive, very few countries in the world are as hot as India. So you can see the difference from the previous set of degrees of comparison and the second set of degrees of comparison. Students, now we can understand from the above examples that Ashoka was not the only emperor great, and India is not the only hottest country. There are a few others. Hence we have and we use than most other in the comparative and very few in the positive. Now we shall see how the other degrees of comparison are made from the comparative degree. Comparative, India is richer in mineral wealth than any other country. In the superlative, India is the richest country in mineral wealth. Positive, no other country is so rich in mineral wealth as India. Similarly, comparative, Nehru was greater than most other Indians. In superlative, Nehru was one of the greatest Indians. Positive, very few Indians were as great as Nehru. Students, I hope you are aware of the grammar rule that when there are only two persons or things, only two degrees of comparison are possible. They are the positive and the comparative. Let us observe the following sentences. In the example of the comparative, it is easier to preach than to practice. That is, here we have only two things being compared. Let us see the change in the positive. It is not easy to practice as to preach. So you have seen that there are only two degrees of comparison in this set and no superlative is used. Similarly, another example, exercise is no less necessary than food. In the positive, exercise is as necessary as food. Another example, I love her more than you do. Positive, you do not love her as much as I do. Students, now let us recapitulate the things we have discussed in the session. 1. We use than any other in the comparative and no other in the positive when only one of their kind are compared. Second, we use than most other in the comparative and very few in the positive when there are a few of their kind in their group. Third, superlative is not used when two things or persons compared. Thank you, students. Hope you have understood the rules of grammar in interchanging the degrees of comparison. Thank you.
Further clarification, contact the Additional Secretary, State Board of Technical Education and Training, 7th floor, BRKR Bhavan, Tank Bund Road, Hyderabad, 500063. Fax 040 322 0546.